Well, Dirk,
I do know.
if you want to improve, and I know you want to improve, you want to improve yourself, you want to improve your process, you want to improve your organization, now and in the future, you have an adversary. And that adversary is the past.
Oh, we all hate the past.
Well, no, actually, that's not. The problem is we all love the past, and that's what we're going to talk about.
Depends on your past.
Right. Well, in this story, which is entitled "The Elephant on the Factory Floor" by Gwendolyn Galsworth, we talk about the past in a different framework. It appeared in Quality Digest website on Tuesday. And this perceptive little article first appeared on Galsworth's own visual thinking blog. And it lays bare the tribal nature inherent in the visceral fear of change, right? And it offers some tactics to combat it. Because what she's talking about here is, and just to get this out of the way, the elephant that she's talking about, the elephant on the factory floor, is what I just mentioned, is the past. It's this idea that people that are in your team that are working with process and you're trying to improve, they're really tied to the way they've always done things, and it kind of dominates the early stages of any discussion about change, about real and sustained change. Those from the outside who might walk into a new situation and seek to affect change, they need to be aware of this beast, which can take the form of comments like, well, that's not the way we do things around here, right? We hear that one. Or, we've been doing great work here for a long time before you showed up. She actually uses almost that exact quote in her article.
It's all good till you showed up.
That's right. But that's exactly what you're talking about, is this tie to the past. So how can one defeat the elephant? Galsworth suggests the following guidelines. This comes from, did you ever see Firefly?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever see that show?
Yeah, great show.
So she talks about this character, River Tam, right? Played by Summer Glau. The fabulous Summer Glau.
A movie that should have come back.
That's right.
Series
so she talks about this as this kind of her touchstone is this character. So these are the things she thinks about when she's trying to overcome this elephant. Don't meddle. Let people be themselves. Take people as they are, not as you prefer them to be. People don't mind change. They mind when you try to change them. That's a good takeaway, right? I mean, they don't mind if you can do it subtly in the right way. Change is actually okay.
Encourage the change, don't force the change.
Don't force the change, really good one. Okay. The next one is notice and promote differences. Do not standardize people. Well, standardize your process, but let people be who they are within the standardization of the process. No is not a negative, it's an adventure, right? I mean, it is. If you think about it, I mean,
try telling that to your little child.
Well, hopefully
it's not a negative.
Hopefully you don't have little children working on your shop floor.
This is an adventure.
See where you can go with that. Maybe that no needs to be explored a little bit. Tread carefully and get your own support group. Really, build up the people in your organization that can help you with that. Engineer and celebrate early victories. Make much of small things. Get people used to the idea of noticing that minute changes move forward and celebrate that. And that's a really good one because, we all want to have the big wins, but really the big wins are composed usually of a lot of small wins. And if you don't take the time to say, hey, that was great that we did it that way instead of the old way, you're not going to really move in that right direction. Follow the methodology. That kind of explains itself. Get physical. What she talks about there is engage in the actual work. Don't just sit behind your computer. Kind of get out on the gemba and do it. Help remanufacture things. The 5S process is a great example of that, where you really begin to get into it. You don't have to work out and feel like you're exhausted from your muscles pumping, but do a little bit of the physical work. It helps uncork the mental work too. And then let the flow do the work. And that's really a good one too, because really what you're talking about there is similar to the methodology, is work will flow if you get out of the way and let it flow. If you throw up all these roadblocks, again, relying on the past or not letting people be who they are, trying to standardize people, if you do those things, you're not going to have flow in your process and in your work and in your organization overall. These are all ways that, she's a visuality person, she's lean and she works with things like 5S, as I mentioned. But if you think about it in those terms of going into a situation as a change agent and trying to work with what you got, not force yourself onto it, it's going to be way easier and you're going to get buy-in. And that's really what she's talking about, is getting the buy-in from the people that are there working. And get rid of the elephant, because that's the elephant of the past is really what destroys you ultimately.